let's get into the rest of this game. So we've talked about KP. We talked about playing KP at the 5. I'm sure we'll have more conversations as Jason Kidd continues to play these other lineups without KP at the 5. But you mentioned that bench unit. Brunson and Frank Ntilikina both talked to the media after the game. Usually that indicates that they had a good game. Frank Ntilikina had 7 points in the first half. He finished with 9 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals that both, I think, led to fast break buckets on the other end. And he hit a 3 in this game. He had a great impact off the bench, and he's finally settling into a role with Dallas. He's in the rotation now, which is not something I thought we'd be saying at the beginning of the season. So that says something that he's earned Jason Kidd's trust. And then Brunson, we've talked about him a ton, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists for him. And he led that second unit, and he helped the Mavericks late in the game when he's playing starters minutes, right? We should also be very clear about that. He played 30 minutes. Nobody else, even most of the starters didn't even play 30 minutes. So he's coming off the bench, playing that 6-man role, but he's also finishing games, closing games out. That bench unit has been awesome, at least with those two guys in the backcourt.
Man, I love the combination. I think the front office, as long as Frank, I mean, obviously we're 10 games into the season, and as long as this play continues playing out, Frank stays in the rotation, he stays having a solid season. Like, they deserve a lot of credit for taking a swing at that. I mean, obviously low risk.
They being the Mavs front office.
Yeah, front office in that, because they looked at a guy and said, hey, you were a top 10 draft pick, just a few years ago. Why not throw a minimum contract? We want to establish defense. I thought one of the cooler parts, we texted about it after the game, but during the post-game press conference, you don't have these quotes, do you? Or the clips?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to spoil it unless you did. No. But Reggie Bullock was talking to the media, and he was asked about Frank and about if he was surprised about seeing seeing how well he's shooting right now. And of course he's not going to say he was, but
I can read the quote right here. Reggie Bullock on Frank Ntilikina. No, I am not surprised. Frank is a hardworking player. I believe he never really got his opportunity in New York. It is so good as a teammate to be able to see him out there on the floor actually playing. He worked hard for this moment, and it's panning out for him.
I love the second. I almost tweeted out the second quote of that once he said it, but it's one of those quotes like you need to get exact on like exactly what he said, because I thought that was a telling sign or a telling statement of him saying, I don't think he got that opportunity, that fair opportunity in New York, and
because Bullock was there.
Yeah, and so I think some Knicks fans could hear that and be like, oh, we watched him play. Yeah, he got an opportunity. I think there's layers to that Bullock quote too of, hey, the opportunity in this type of role, the opportunity to be able to have freedom when it comes to the offense. Maybe he didn't have that in New York, but I like that quote. And I like, he's obviously playing with a confidence now that he hasn't had before. We're seeing him being able to do some things that we haven't been able to see him do in New York. And his shot looks so much more like, and obviously I didn't watch every single minute of him in New York, but it does seem like his shot just seems so much more effortless to him this season. Not just confidence, but just, I don't know. I don't know if there's something in the motion, his mechanics they changed, but it looks so much more smooth.
I think it is confidence because he's taking shots that sometimes we're like, all right, you're doing a little bit too much. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago where we're like, all right, Frank, doing a little bit too much, trying these pull-up twos, but he hit a shot again tonight where he missed a corner 3. I think Reggie Bullock got the offensive rebound. He kicks it back to Ntilikina, who is not in 3-point territory anymore. He's like a couple steps in, and he just pulls up and takes it. He's like, I'm confident in my jumper. I can take this shot right here. And I think that says a lot about the Mavericks coaching staff, the chemistry of this team, the trust that they show each other. Chemistry and trust and accountability are a bunch of words that Brunson was throwing around after the game too about this team. But yeah, I think it shows a lot about him. And again, we've only seen him for 9 games this season. He's playing like 15 minutes a game, but we've seen some solid stuff out of him.
Yeah, for sure. And I love, we've talked about the combination between him and Brunson too, of having this bigger defender, his wingspan, we've talked about a million times, was one of our biggest takeaways from media day when, we got a chance to talk to him, and, him walking away. It's like, oh my gosh, your arms go past your kneecaps. Like
it high-fived me from like a different room.
Yes. It's like Gumby or something. Like it's insane, but I'm happy for him. He seems like a super nice kid. And I mean, you really can't hype up Brunson. Oh, another thing about Frank, Bullock said that, he did like make a phone call. He did reach out to him. He said when he had heard that Frank was,
in play for Dallas.
Yes, in play for Dallas. You know, he reached out to him. He was like, hey, I know what we're trying to build here in Dallas. Thought he would fit, and bam, it happened. But to Brunson, I mean, there was just